What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Chris Coffey. I have two very special guests with me today. We are going to have an AMA on the OUP, the OMI Utility Program. If you're not familiar with my channel, started making OMI content March 10th of 2021. My first ever crypto video was how to buy OMI. Still loving the content, but today I have been blessed with the opportunity to interview these two amazing people and ask your questions. You've been submitting questions over the last few days. We're going to try to tackle as much as possible as we can here. So a warm welcome to none other than Rhys and Pudding Cheeks. Thank you guys so much for, of course, coming on the channel to do this and talk about it. How are you guys doing today?
I'm really well, actually. Yeah, doing great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're trying to get all of this basically this tour of doing AMA for the OUP, and then just kick it back next week at Anaheim, huh? Probably like the light at the end of the tunnel by now.
It definitely feels that way. Yeah, I joke about it, but I say we're on the campaign trail, so it feels like we're part of the midterm elections at this point.
Yeah, heck yeah. It's just been a stressful week. I'm sure it's super for you because you just dropped the OUP, but just in crypto in general, the FTX stuff and with the market and the way everything's going. So Anaheim's looking just so nice just to be able to like hang out with some of the fam, kick it loose, meet some of you guys. I am myself really looking forward to it. But yeah, so in this interview today, or in this AMA, we're going to be pulling up questions that you submitted the last few days. As I stated earlier, these were pre-submitted questions. Normally, I would pull up chat, but I'm going to save that for the end. So if you have some questions you'd like to ask in chat, wait till the end. We're going to try to tackle some of the ones that were already entered. And this is OUP specific. So like, you know, if you want to do your support tickets, send all those to what, Alex, you know, whoever on chat. Alex always jokes around about getting all the support tickets. But yeah, if you want to have any of those done, this isn't the AMA. This AMA specifically for OUP. So you guys ready just to rip the Band-Aid off and dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Go for it.
Sweet. So by the way, I have everything pulled up. If you want to reference something, I have the Crypto to Gym, OMI to Gym, OUP tickets, VV drop, and burn reward points. Fantastic job on the site, Rhys. Like, it's awesome, super easy to navigate. I don't put in cheeks. I don't know if you helped design the site as well, but it's awesome. I appreciate obviously the support for creators as well. So super awesome. If you guys haven't checked out the OMI token portal, definitely go check that out.
I have to throw props to IMX there. Actually, that's where I learned about Notion. When I saw them do it, I was like, oh, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Heck yeah. You did such a good job on the site, and you also did such a good job on the original presentation. So obviously, like, hopefully before you're watching this, go watch the video where Rhys breaks this entire OUP down. What is it? 45 minutes, something like that. It's a pretty long video of just going through everything. Went through like the simple, the basic, how to buy, to like, all right, here's the more complex mechanisms that we're incorporating. So you kind of want to watch that as a precursor to this video, because this video is kind of just questions on that, which, by the way, Rhys, you did an amazing job. I would think that you have a background in content creation. That is so well spoken and clear. So
I've been well trained over the past 2 years or so. Yeah.
You guys have been killing it. I like the community updates as well. So the way I have this, I just thought the easiest way to do it, I went and favorited all the questions that were directly relating to the OUP. I'm going to try to just do one question from each person. And then at the end, if we have more time, we'll kind of go back and get multiple questions just to make it fair. You know, I'm sure everybody wants their questions to be answered, but like, I want everybody to try to get a chance. So, you know, we'll just go on it.
Yeah, perfect. So maybe just quickly before we get there, for anyone who hasn't seen that video that you just mentioned, because I have seen this come up once or twice, where it seems and sounds really complicated, but it's actually, we're really showing you everything under the hood. But when you're using it in the app, it'll just be as seamless as everything else in VV. So while it might be overwhelming to begin, just know that that's not how it will be when you're actually trying to use these features.
I feel like I know a decent amount, and I had to watch it two full times. And you know, and so it's a lot to digest when you're first looking at it, which I guess is why you're on this AMA tour. You know, so we of course appreciate you for doing this. Also, last thing before we dive in is a lot of these questions might have been answered over the Discord AMA that you guys had, or might have been answered, or might be obvious to some. I'm just going to go ahead and ask all of them. That way, if it's, you know, if other people watching this don't know, it gives them a chance to find out. So even if I ask you what seems like a super obvious question, it's just for whoever's listening. You never know. So that's what I'm doing.
That's why we're here.
So,
yep.
I'll start off with the first one, which, by the way, I am the worst at pronouncing names. I've already botched this name so many times. So I'll just go ahead and read the comment. Where's the direct one? OUP plan is to require sellers to first deposit. I'm trying to find the exact question. This looks more like a precursor to it. I guess I'll just read the whole thing. Thanks, Chris. I have a comment on what I consider a major flaw for OMI to NFT. OUP plan is to require sellers to first deposit the 8.5% fee in gems. Example, the seller wanting to list for 120K of OMI will first need to buy 10K gems as deposit. This is an unrealistic expectation.
Yep. That's a fair comment. I mean, I think we have that in the OUP document anyway. And just for complete clarity, it will actually be a little bit more than 8.5% purely based on your staking tier when that's live. Now, it's not ideal, right? But the alternative is that we take the entire transaction in OMI tokens and we would have to sell down that 8.5% or whatever it is to pay those license wall fees. So at the moment, this is the plan. Once all of these features are in place and that flywheel is really spinning, if the demand for the token is forever on the increase, then maybe we can adjust the way that we do those transactions. But to begin with, I mean, the whole intention is to prevent any sort of sell pressure on the token where we can. So this is just what we have to go with. And look, I did acknowledge this in the Discord AMA as well. You're right. If it's a big transaction, $100,000 transaction or something like that, then yes, it is very inconvenient. But for lower priced items, or I think it will actually lead to much more reasonable pricing of things instead of trying to list your Mermacornos for 100K. It'll come down to what you have there. And it's not so much that users have to deposit gems or, use their credit card and buy those gems. If they're an app user, they probably have gems anyway. They could always sell a collectible for gems, use those to pay that fee to list in OMI tokens as well. So yeah, I completely agree. It's the stickiest part of the plan. And it will be under constant review to try and make that much more seamless and enjoyable.
And a little bit more about that on the back end. If you do it where you just remove the OMI from the buying price and then have Vivi take that OMI and sell it to get cash, it also kind of opens up a legal gray area of them being an exchange party in every single transaction. Whereas in the way that it's set up now, it kind of ties to the current system. As Rhys mentioned, the licensors are still receiving the revenue stream the same way. It is disadvantageous to the user experience, but it'll be the way we start this program. And then moving forward, if there's other avenues or ways to make this better, we're always up for that.
Yeah. And you even just sparked another thought of mine there, Adam, that especially given the light of what's happened in crypto in the last 24 hours, really the last 6 to 9 months, there are some licensors that won't want to accept dollars that have come from a crypto transaction or things like that as well. So just trying to keep everything as clean as possible to make it as functional as possible, but obviously protect the company and protect our license partners as well.
I respect it. Thank you for answering. By the way, I'm sure you're used to critical questions, but some of the most critical questions I see are from some of the biggest supporters or people that care about the company. I don't even try to say the name because I always say it wrong. Being one of them, though, for sure. He seems critical, but he's super analytical and does absolutely care about the success of BB.
And I mean, it helps us. It truly helps us to question our own assumptions and make sure that what we're doing really does align with everything we need. So yeah, critical is fine by us as long as you're not like swearing at me or threatening my life.
Yeah, I'll try to refrain.
Yeah.
I favorited the ones that were relevant. And again, I'll just kind of go down the list. Mulligan asked, I'll go ahead and click it. I have the cold wallet made by Akomi with my OMI on there. I'd love to hear any so this is regarding OMI and not OUP, so I'll let it slip in. With my OMI on there, I'd love to hear any relevant information around actions I may need to take in the future, like when we had to move over to ETH. Thank you.
If you are holding the new ERC20 OMI token, you don't have to do anything. You can just leave it there in cold storage. If you're still holding the old GoChain OMI token, I would swap your tokens. The token swap site, it will always be open, but I mean, they're just redundant. You may as well swap them over. And especially while we're in a bear market, I know gas has been crazy the last few days, but you can get away with that token swap for much cheaper now than you could have, at the start of the year. So if you're still holding those, swap them. If you've got the ERC20 OMI token, you can put that in a drawer and do nothing with them. That's completely fine.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, I'll go on to SodiPop. SodiPop, by the way, hosts a VV space on Sundays. I can never make it because Sundays are super busy for me. Can you go more in depth as to the NFT rewards from OUP? Will burn points, this probably stack questions, I'll just read the whole thing. Will burn points be the same system used for MCP NFT burning? So I'll just go ahead and tackle the first one, and I'll come back to the other ones. More in depth as to the NFT rewards from OUP.
Yep. So if people haven't seen it yet, there are seasonal and annual staking rewards. And part of that reward package is a non-licensed collectible. So every 3 months, as long as you roll over your stake or maintain your stake, you will receive a collectible or a set of collectibles depending on which tier you're in. So if you're in the highest staking tier, you'll get the whole set. If you're in tier 4, you'll get from ultra rare down to common. If you're in tier 1, you'll receive the common collectible. As to more depth, we will probably expand on sort of what people are going to receive closer to. And this is something we can make really fun and really involve everybody in, and even get some community creators in there if it's something that appeals to everybody. So that's probably all I would say there. Adam, do you want to add anything to that before we?
So somebody caught the fact that the yearly collectible did not have the words non-licensed on it. So that's something that could end up being worked through one of the licensors. But like Rhys was saying, the rewards will be announced well ahead of time. And I'm sorry if you hear that racket behind me. They're running a tractor outside. They started like 5 minutes before we jumped on here.
Can't hear it, don't worry.
Yeah, but yeah, so we'll announce them well ahead of time. That way it doesn't come to the end of a staking season or a yearly and then everyone be disappointed at what the reward is.
Yeah.
So everybody would know well ahead of time if it's beneficial for them to stay in those tiers or what they want to do, or if they possibly want to move up a tier, because a collectible reward might be something really sought after. No one really knows at this point.
Yeah. And look, we will obviously try to make that annual staking reward bigger and better than the seasonal staking rewards, right? And we really want to incentivize and reward anyone that's staking long-term and benefiting the system long-term. So that's obviously in our scope there.
I even hear you mention like maybe there's enough interest in like community art. Like the first thing that comes to my head is like Brock and Fishes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, possibilities with that.
Yeah, I mean, that in and of itself is a very niche part of the community. But the sky's the limit, really, right?
Sure.
We want to make sure that the items people are receiving are items people consider worthy of locking up their tokens. But it can be there's a lot of fun VV related content we can do, right? I mean, the obvious are like the OMI logos and more VV logos, the green truck, the market currently disabled warning sign, all of these kind of community meme type things. But then we can also go right into the realm of artist collaborations and if some of these independent license partners want to be involved in that as well, then there's plenty of potential there.
Awesome. That's super exciting. I will move on.
Do you want to go through? Sorry, he had a couple of questions in there. Do you want to cover those while we're?
While we're there, sure thing.
Yep. The burn reward points, no. So MCP NFT burning is referring to burning your collectibles, right? And David's mentioned it before, but you might burn 10 or 100 of something for a really limited edition prototype collectible, something like that. Whereas the burn reward points, it's probably easier to think of them almost like credit card reward points. You're spending money and you're getting flight reward points or something like that. So in this instance, you would be spending OMI or voluntarily burning OMI, and you'll receive those points, which you can then redeem for extra items down the line. Yeah, that's how I do that. And then the next one, Adam, you know exactly how the OMI burn wallet transactions take place. So if you want to answer that one, go for it.
Okay, so it says how is the OMI burn wallet managed? Does anyone have keys to it? So the way the systems operate is you have your reserve, you have a vault, and you have a burn. And when the reserve is started with the 340 billion tokens behind the VV app. When someone purchases a gem, it moves an amount of OMI tokens from the reserve to the vault. All of the OMI that's in the vault is representing gems, but it's not like a one-to-one balance because it was at the time that the OMI was moved at whatever value it was at that period in time. So we have these two large systems. And then when a gem is consumed in the system through a purchase, a primary purchase, or a secondary fee, that is when the OMI is burned, representing those gems. So it goes to a layer 2 burn wallet. And then right now, every day they automatically roll that down to layer 1 because there's actually no burning mechanism directly on layer 2 right now. So it goes down to layer 1. And I think like once a month, they take the layer 1 burn wallet and send it to the source, which is 0x00 address. Those tokens that go to that address are gone forever. So it's just a flow of a system that goes through, and then they're eventually just burned completely. It will change over time, but the way the OUP works is all of the burns from the OUP just go into that reserve, and then they start going through that same flow. Any token that's in any of those three systems is always and forever will be out of circulation. It will not enter circulation in any circumstance. So once it's there, its final destination is being burned through the usage of the VV platform.
Yeah, perfect. And there might be, crypto lingo can be really hard to decipher sometimes. And so it's not really, on our end, it's in a burn wallet until you send it to the burn address. And the burn address is that 0 address that Adam mentioned. So that's effectively destroying the tokens because nobody controls that address. Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you. Awesome explanation of how that works. I wasn't going to pull anything up, but just because it's a nice gesture, Foster did a super chat just to wish you happy birthday. Put in cheek. So happy belated birthday. Was it very recently?
That's still not going to get him in the wheel. Yeah, my birthday was yesterday.
Awesome, man. Yeah, happy late birthday.
Thank you.
I'll move on to the next one. The portal mentions that 95% of the waitlist will be for OUP, MCP, public. Will they have separate waitlists for all three? Will they have separate waitlists or all three be in one place?
Yeah, so that will actually depend on the devs and what they tell us is the most effective way to do this system. So what we're thinking at the moment is that it can actually all be part of the same waitlist, but if you have submitted a gold ticket, then you would kind of be allocated a reservation, provided there are enough reservations. And the bronze tickets, the MCP points, and the public pool would all be the same cohort, right? The same sort of drop. So technically, it can all happen in the same drop, but if you've submitted a gold ticket, you could be allocated out of that. And I think that's how we'll proceed. If not, then it would be, I guess, two separate wait lists, one for gold tickets and one for everything else. And then that way, if there are any unclaimed gold ticket allocations, they would be returned to the public drop pool for everybody else to get their hands on.
Sweet. I'll move on to the next one. Again, some of these people did submit more than one question, but I'm trying to give everybody a chance, and we could always come back to the other ones. Just a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this, and so trying to get to them.
And we will probably end up covering the bulk of it with every question that comes in anyway. So
yeah, a lot of them definitely overlapped. So I'm sorry if I ask you the same question. I might forget. And I did try to filter, all the questions at first, but there might be some that sneak in there. Because like I said, I got some things that was like, hey, I had this issue on VV. I'm just like, this is OUP. This is go message, go DM Alex on Twitter.
Exactly. Go hustle,
Alex. Again, bad with names. Duck and cover. What happens if VV is popular, but VVverse isn't? A lot of staking rewards are VVverse oriented. An example, VV branded. What do stakers get if those items aren't valuable or useful? I'm sure that's a hard question to answer due to security. Like, I don't know. your answer, not mine.
It's not really, but purely because I'm confident the VVverse will be very well received. But there actually is only one staking reward that has anything to do with the VVverse at the moment, and that is that gold ticket land redemption. So I don't really agree with the question. I think most things are very much VV related at the moment, and we would look to layer in more staking rewards and perks in the VVverse. But either way, I think those items will be very well received, regardless of if you're a fan of one or both.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Adam, have you got any opinion there?
Yeah, and that's a far looking forward question. It seems the overall theme of the systems that have been put together are continuous monitoring. If it looks like parts of it are not popular, what do we need to do to it to make it popular? If nobody goes past tier 1 in staking, what do we need to do to incentivize all these different things? So it's set up in a way where it's easy to modify and tweak things inside of the system without breaking the balance of how it all connects together. So looking down the line, there's more than likely going to be staking things that are tied to the VVverse. None of us have seen it yet, so there's no way to even know what those would be yet. That's
good exactly right. And look, we're obviously designing and building this in a way that third-party platforms or anything else can reference your staking tier and offer you perks elsewhere, right? And you'll start seeing that in community partnerships. But that's a really easy way to add more value for the exact same stake and introduce you to other companies and other projects and things like that too. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think somebody later down the line did ask specifically about adding rewards for VVverse, but we'll obviously get there when we get there. Here's a huge supporter of VV Viral. I'm sure you're very familiar with him on Twitter. Absolutely, like advocate. VV Viral said, today Rhys mentioned maybe doing a flat 1% fee for OMI to NFT transactions until staking and the adjustable fee structure is implemented. Would they consider making it a flat 5% fee split between buyer and seller instead? More burns, please.
Yeah, we can consider it, but I think there'll be a couple of pitchforks coming my way if we do it. I get it. I do understand the motivation for more burns, but then you're actually asking people to spend more money out of their pocket for the same result, right? And a flat 5% fee either side would be more than what we have as the fee tiers in the staking program anyway. So I think it's much better just to start on a nice, even, easy to understand rate, and then split it when staking comes in. Yeah, that would be my logic.
I see you put in Cheeks already gave a spoiler to him. I saw that after I asked it. So we'll move on.
And the thought process behind that was all of these individual systems are going to roll out by themselves to create the whole ecosystem of utility that will be involved in the staking. So as things roll out, like with the OMI to NFT specifically, we thought it would be best to just start everybody like they were a tier 3 user, because it's a new system. And the day we turn that on, is it going to be flawless? Yes, of course. So just thinking, ease into it and don't jump straight into having those 2.5% fees on both sides, and allow everybody to get comfortable with it. And then once the staking goes live, then it's up to you to decide what your fee level is going to be for that.
I'm going to ask one more on this Twitter thread. I actually had a couple of DMs. I'll jump over to the DMs and then come back to the Twitter comments. Some of the DMs were actually earlier because I was kind of letting people know throughout the week to DM me if they had anything. And then I did that one tweet about it. If OUP tiers will be locked regardless of price of OMI, if they have, okay, I guess that's one question. If OUP tiers will be locked regardless the price of OMI. So, do you understand that?
Yep. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Do you want to go for that, Adam? You want to address that?
Yeah. So the pricing of each season, which is 3 months, is locked at the beginning of the season, the way that we have it set up right now. So let's say that tier 1 right now is $1 million OMI, and it's whatever the dollar value is for that. I'm not going to try to math that in my head, but let's say that it was $1 million OMI for tier 1. For that entire season, it's $1 million OMI for tier 1. So 3 months, it's $1 million OMI. For 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 3 months, it's $1 million OMI there will be people that try to strategize and game the OMI market, because if OMI price goes down anytime in those 3 months, it still only costs them $1 million OMI to get that tier. But then on the flip side of that, if the OMI price goes up, it's going to be harder for you to get that 1 million OMI to get to that tier. The way that we've set it up is at the beginning of the second season, it's going to take an average of the first season price, whatever the OMI to dollar was at the first season, in the beginning of the second season. And that's more of a way to prevent somebody, a big player, from going and trying to destroy the OMI market and offset and throw off what the staking prices are for a whole season for everybody else. And we will watch that closely to see if something wild happens. So by having it where it's fixed for the whole season, you might wait around and say, hey, I'm going to wait for the price to drop. And then it goes the other direction. And now it's almost impossible for you to try to get to that next tier in dollar value, because it's a fixed amount of OMI. The underlying flow of all of that is, once somebody is in a tier, it's theirs forever. There's no chance that when the price changes for the second season and you're, like, say you're a tier 2, even if the rates change for the tiers, you don't have to top up your wallet to stay in tier 2 to match whatever it is. If it's less OMI than what it costs somebody to get in now, good for you. You don't have to add more. And then the other way around, you could end up having more value in your staking tier than it actually costs somebody else to get it. And that's where we add that yearly adjustment period at the end of the year, where if you have a lot more OMI in your staking position than it takes to be a tier 4 or a tier 5, you can adjust down. Unironically, that might be around the same time that the VVverse land stuff happens. So there's a lot of connectivity to all of the systems, and we will monitor that and make sure that it seems fair and balanced to as many users as possible.
That was asked a lot about around the, like, when people lock up, what amount, and the fluctuation of OMI price. So I'm probably going to come across a few more of those. So thank you for clearing that up, Putting Cheeks. Do you have anything else to add, Rhys?
No, I would just say, that system, when you see a lot of staking systems and they require you to top up every time the token price sells off or anything like that, it can be really frustrating and probably outweigh the rewards. So I think that doing it this way is much friendlier for people and much friendlier to understand. But it also there's a bit of incentive to be staking early in each staking season, right? If you're not already there. Because obviously then you're not going to be subjected to those price fluctuations moving forward. Whereas, as Adam said, like, if we get halfway through a season and the OMI price doubles, well, now it takes twice as many OMI tokens to be at that tier, unless you wait for the start of the next season for those rates to readjust. But obviously, if you do wait, then you're forfeiting those rewards. You're forfeiting annual rewards if you're not staking at all those kind of things. So, I think this is going to make it the easiest to understand and the fairest across the board, but it still incentivizes that early participation.
Absolutely. I'm going to move to some DMs that I got. Just straight up, obviously I did read these. The first one's a heavy hitter, again, from a very avid community member that's like in spaces and stuff like that. So this is a 3-layer question. So I'll just go ahead and start it. I'll read the whole thing. It's from Naked Well. Again, very active community member. Hoping you can ask Rhys about 10% of store sales revenue that was always promised through OMI evaluation. Anyways, my first read question is, Ecomi is seeding the OMI to Gem Fund with 1 million in fiat. Is Ecomi sure that this is not going to cause regulatory issues?
Yeah, at the moment, yeah. We've all run this by our legal team, and it's all been approved. Now, don't get me wrong, regulations can change, and
Sure.
The way that these things are treated can change. So, that's always a possibility. But at the moment, we're quite confident that everything in that OUP will be fine to roll out.
Awesome. Goes on to the next question. What is happening to the 10% store revenue that was previously earmarked for buybacks?
Yep. So this is in there as well. I think it's in the OMI to Gem page. It gives you a breakdown to say what that 10% net revenue figure would have been if we were to be doing these buybacks, which is obviously where the legal grey area comes in. So we're actually burning almost double that amount from the business development fund. And then that's it. We're getting rid of the buyback system, right? We've spent the last 2 years trying to determine if we can or can't run a system like that. And really, it's preventing us from implementing everything else. So we're just moving forward with the new utility program. And I can see that he says most of these burns are based on marketplace activity. Yes, they are. And that's really, again, to really help us navigate those legal gray areas, basically, right? All of the OMI transactions or burns are voluntary or user initiated, and none of them lead to revenue for the company, right? It's all to benefit, the actual OUP system, which keeps our head above water at this stage. Anything you want to add there, Adam, before we move to the next question there?
Yeah, that covered it. That covered it pretty well. It's more of it's all activity and user initiated utility. It's not a company side doing something specific to add or decrease revenue in any way. The reward system is all rewards that go to stakers. The tickets, the burn points, all of that are activity based. Like if you're active in staking, you're given rewards. They do not have a retail value where you can turn around and sell those back to the company. So you can trade those with other users, but you cannot interact directly back to Vivi or Komi to get financial gain from that.
Yeah, exactly right. And then I can read ahead here and see the next questions. With the 1 million gems, yes, we're confident that will be okay, because that's actually a sunk cost coming from Komi. It's not coming directly from Vivi or Orbis or any of those things. So that's a company expense on our books that will fund that OMI to gem pool, which is also why we're not going to be taking any revenue from those store sales. It just keeps both sides of the house nice and separate in that endeavor.
The last part, I think you guys kind of already answered it, but I'll go ahead and read it, just at the end. What now happens to the 10% store revenue in the future, and why? So you just answered that.
Yeah.
And I guess why can it not be used to fund the OMI to gem fund?
Yeah, exactly the same reason, right? If we're taking the issues really lie with when you're taking revenue from something and funding something else, but we're not actually doing that to fund the gem pool with that 1 million gems. It's not coming from VV revenue. Yeah.
Sure. Sweet. Thank you. The next person is Cool Mo on Twitter, and it says, this is what was I think was just answered not then, but the question before that. I have 5.1 million OMI. I need the price to go to 0.089 to qualify for tier 5. I know I can stay in tier 5 as long as I stake my OG stake, but as the prices goes up, can I take out OMI as long as I can keep enough for the 40K?
Yeah, so that's that yearly grace period. So at the end of every year, you'll have a period of time where you can adjust your stake with no penalty and match the new rates, right? Because if the price goes up, then obviously you will be not overexposed, but you'll have more than you need, and that would be the time to reduce that balance.
And to clarify on that, if it goes down, you do not have to add more. Yep. So it's more for the benefit of if you put your tokens in there and you're happy with your tier and you just want to check on it once a year to see if you have an excess that you need to pull off of there, then you're more than welcome to do that without having to monitor it constantly all the time.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Actually, there's 2 more DM questions, and then I'll get back to the Twitter thread. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much, by the way. The explanations have been great, super clear, super thorough. I understand. Hopefully the viewers, get enough too. Aloha. This is, I actually prefaced this earlier. Is there plans, or will there be plans for more utility within the VVverse as it develops, or will OMI only have utility within the VV app and marketplace?
Aloha. Yes, yeah, there will be. Yeah, we'll probably have an entirely other, new utility plan, just as detailed, if not more, as the VVverse develops. And we'll always be layering in new utilities to the OUP as well, right? I think there's a lot of fun things we can do there. Obviously, if we end up with a lot of people staking, price goes up, and everyone ends up at tier 5, we will no doubt have to add rewards or some other perk to maintain that tier, just so it's not diluted, right? And it doesn't kind of blow out too far. So, yep, definitely some utilities coming for the VVverse. And we have a lot more freedom there, right? It's our metaverse, we can decide what items make it in, how we want to pursue that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super exciting for me to hear. I know that's, probably got a good ways to go till we get there, but that's really cool that there could even be a whole different thing for it.
Yeah. And next week we're going to find out, right? Everyone gets their first look at Decon. Shout out to everybody that comes out.
Heck yeah.
It should be, well, I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to. I've learned my lesson hyping things up in the past. So let's just see how.
Hype it up. Do it.
He's good.
Yeah, good. Awesome. Are we like, real quick off the OUP just for a second, is it something like a display we're all going to watch? Is it something, I don't know if this is answered already. Do we like line up for it?
I think it's something we'll all watch. Yep. As opposed to a lineup kind of thing. But outside of that, it's pretty much a complete surprise. And
it's not going to be on Friday. It's not going to be on Friday evening, huh? That might be the one evening. Then.
No, Friday's only VIP. That would be a
yeah. Got him. Oh, that'd be great. I'll move on to the next question. Mr. Rolex is, again, I think this has to do with like price fluctuation. Say it's worth $20K. Does that mean I have to add an additional $20K in the OMI to stay in the same tier? I think that's what Pudding Cheeks answered earlier, but you can just confirm that or deny that. And also, do you lose the staking period for when it was up? Also vice versa.
Yeah. So I think we've covered this, but as we kind of said, as soon as you stake at a tier and unlock that tier, you maintain that tier if you don't touch your stake. Right? If you withdraw your stake at any time during that season or during the year and then want to restake, you still have the tier, right, Adam? We've said
yes. Well, if you want to restake again, you have a 30-day wait period, which essentially makes it where if you unstake during the seasonal grace period, you will not be staking for the snapshot of that season. So it was kind of a way to make it where you have a decision to make and you can't game trying to jump out and jump back in to catch the new pricing for the next season.
Yeah.
There was a lot of thought in how that rollover works between seasons. But if you set it there and the rate changes wildly, it doesn't affect you. It only affects you if you were planning on going to the next higher tier and then OMI price goes down and it takes a whole lot more OMI to get to that tier. So you'll have to kind of look ahead and probably by the time that a season is ending, you'll already have a good idea of what the next season's pricing is going to be because we're going to post that at the same time as the season begins. So there'll be a lot of strategy involved there. There'll be a lot of content for you guys.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, I think, I know not everyone is in this position, but the safest way is basically to get to tier 5 as quickly as you can and don't touch it. that's pretty much the goal there. And then
that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you can adjust at the end of the year to the new rates, and same deal, you'll maintain that tier as long as you don't touch the stake. So it's hopefully enough balance in there to motivate people to move up, but also protect them on the downside. Yeah.
And fast tracking also burns OMI, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, fast tracking or any OMI spent on fast tracking goes to the reserve, which is effectively already burnt. I'm sorry, I just lost.
You can use your bird reward points for fast tracking as well.
Yeah, and maybe that's a good thing to touch on there. That's really designed, other than being a fun redemption mechanism. We're expecting OMI to NFT and OMI to, some of these OMI transactional methods to be in before staking. So as soon as you can start spending OMI in the app, you'll accrue those burn reward points. So by the time staking is live, you might have enough there to fast track straight to tier 5, right? And that's really a reward because you've already spent the OMI. So that's kind of the logic in the way that we've planned the rollout as well.
Sweet. Yeah. And I just pulled up the burn reward points on the Akomi site just to kind of give like a visual if somebody's rewatching this and wants to pause it to kind of like understand, what we're talking about.
For sure. And these, that system particularly, but a lot of them are really, this is the foundation, right? This is a really strong foundation. And then we have a lot of different systems that we can build on over time, right? So obviously different things that you can redeem. Same deal. We can issue burn reward points if you're using OMI in the VV verse, and really start to build things out that way too.
And it was also a way to reward the users of the platform over just people that are just coming in because they hear, hey, there's OMI staking. If those people are in a hurry, they don't care about OMI at all, they'll end up paying the fast track fees. Whereas as users and traders in the app are earning these points passively as they're buying bronze tickets, buying OMI to gems, paying their buyer fees on OMI to NFT, we'll, like Rhys said, we'll have all that ahead of time, and then you'll have some points built up by the time that staking goes live. So really, it was a way to reward the users of the platform by having that little mechanism in there.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to move on to the Twitter. And also, again, just thank you guys for doing this for the community. Gets me so hyped about the future of the project. Gets me hyped to meet a lot of you next week. It's been a bad week, like with the FTX stuff and in the market in general. But this is definitely just some like positivity and good vibes, like, you know, just talking about this. So I really appreciate you guys for tackling these, you know, excellent job so far. All right, I'm gonna go on to the next one. Hemp is good. For those that have locked up their OMI since we were able to do so on the VV app, get some perk of some sorts. Maybe grandfather into some tier, at least, even if we don't have the 2,500 of OMI.
No is the simple answer there. No, I mean, the perk for putting your OMI into the app was that we migrated them for you, right? So we saved everybody money there. We saved you on the process because it was much easier for us to do than for you to manually swap. And you've had access to those tokens since they were swapped, right? You can log into the web wallet and move them to IMX or wherever you choose. So no, there won't be any retroactive rewarding for us having swapped your tokens.
Sweet. Yeah, and that's absolutely right. We could have just taken them out if we wanted to. And I was one of those that sent them in early, so I didn't have to do the whole bridging stuff, which I was glad, especially the gas prices the way they were during the bull run.
Yeah.
I think that's it. That's it for the questions. I have another thread, but I think that's it for maybe this thread. At the end of the season, depending on the current OMI price, would our staking tier change automatically?
No, I think that's what we decided, isn't it? No, you'll stay in your tier, and you'll have to add to your stake if you're going to progress, and that amount will depend on the new seasonal rates. But otherwise, if you do nothing, you'll just maintain the tier you're in. Otherwise, you know, we could get to a point where the price goes up and everybody just jumps to tier 5, and then we have, you know, it's completely top heavy. So it's no, that's the way we've structured it at the moment. As Adam said earlier, it will always be a balancing game between incentive and participation.
Yeah, and a real simple example of that is, let's say you put $1 million OMI in to be tier 1. And you've staked it all the way through the first season, and then OMI price goes up, and it's only 500,000 OMI to be tier 1 in the second season, and $1 million OMI to be tier 2. Your tokens are still staked. So right now, there's no possible way to say, oh, well, they have more, automatically bump them up. So that was part of the thinking of the yearly adjustment period. Will that be nailed down that it only happens once a year? We may have to modify that, but it was a good start to say that we're going to allow that adjustment, because you may have by the end of a year, you might have $100,000 worth of OMI staked in tier 4, just because the tokens that you had locked up have appreciated in value. The opposite can be true also. I mean, look at FTX and all that stuff that's happened. So it could be that now you're in tier 4 and your OMI that you have staked and locked up is only worth 10,000 or 5,000. So it's a balance, and we're going to pay attention to that and watch it closely. And the way we have it set up now is we can make these adjustments seasonally. And if it looks like the first time we have that yearly adjustment period, we need to change it for the second year and make it more often, we can do something like that.
Sweet. Any other thoughts, Rhys?
No, I think
sweet.
Pretty well covers it. Yeah, we'll always, we're always going to be taking feedback and making sure people are content with the system that's happening, and obviously incentivizes removing tokens from circulating supply. That's the goal of it.
Sweet. I'll move on to the second thread. Got to shout out Dan Lee real quick. You know, obviously he made his 2 videos on OUP like in the first 2 days, and he's already predicting a $10 OMI in the comments. had to call him out real quick. Just joking, of course. And Superstar Money, thanks for the shout out. If you're watching this, be sure to like the video, push this out to people so they can see it, and of course support the channel. Thank you guys so much. If you're here, like the video, of course, for the algorithms.
Yeah. All right. To touch on Daniel's comment, there's going to be a scenario that can happen where people like say the value goes up enough where people are happy with accepting a 10% loss to withdraw outside of the grace period. And if they do that at the beginning of a season, they can still get back in during that same season, but they're going to have that 10% loss. But in a hypothetical scenario, say that your OMIs went up a whole lot more than 10%, and you just don't want to wait for that yearly time to adjust it, and the tier rates look good for you, and you can get that out. You can 20 days into a season, you can eat that 10%, burn that OMI, the 10% withdrawal fee, and get back in before the end of the season and not miss your snapshots.
Yeah, which obviously benefits everybody. If you're,
I was about to say, yeah, you're a tribute, man. Like nobody should shame you for taking it off and selling, because like you just burnt 10% of that, for the cause of us all.
Yeah, and that's going to be a scenario. We simulated and modeled this quite a bit of all the different scenarios.
I love it, man. Yeah, definitely. I don't know how somebody could look at this and not see all the hard work that was put into the background of it. But you know how people are. Some people are like, oh, they came up with that overnight.
I mean, it was
overnight, but it was a lot of them.
It was a lot of nights.
yeah. It was a lot of overnights. Yeah. This crypto bull asked a lot of questions. I'm going to come back to that in a bit because I don't want to ignore somebody, but I need to kind of remember which one specifically to point out. So I'll go on. Let's see. This one says maybe elaborate on how the utilities will be tied in with the VVverse. I do know that during the Discord AMA, there was a mention of land. Maybe just touch on that opposed to I guess new material or whatever, but to stay relevant.
I'm just going to leave that in speculation.
Okay, sure.
Now. Yeah. Until we can actually put something forward, I think we're better off just getting through the OUP, making sure we're all across that, and then we'll get to the VVverse. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. VV Viral again on a new thread. I don't know if he's just having fun or not. My question is: a win is not a win, but rather a what? As in, what will come first? OMI purchasing on VV or major exchange?
What will come first? That's a really good question, actually. Exchanges always depend on, I guess, where we are in the market cycle, right? If we're going to make the most of it, but also where they are in their pipeline and what they have planned. I think at the moment, everybody's probably happy for us to just take us a little step back after this week and just let the dust settle on exchanges, because I don't think anyone would be surprised to see other exchanges go down in the fallout of FTX. The integrating by purchasing of OMI into the web app will be, it's really more a matter of the infrastructure and the payment provider and how quickly they can kind of build that infrastructure and we get it into our pipeline. So look, I think I mentioned this last week, but the development roadmap that we have obviously designed to let you know what we're working on and the current progress. But the next step of that is to try to put some dates to things as well and say, this is what we're working on. This is how long we expect it to take, just so that people are as up to date as possible. So yeah, look out for that. I'd say early next year when we should have some more updates when our new overlord Mitch tells us how long it takes to build things.
I'm in the minority. I like the vague circles, that's the one thing I don't have pulled up right now. But basically, it's a roadmap for the OUP, and it has a little red circle filled out. I like it kind of being abstract. I feel like it's less expectations, but that's just my personal opinion.
It sort of has to be, right? Because it's all well and good to get something. Sometimes you get to 80, 90%, and the last 10% takes you as long as the 80 or 90% to complete it, right? To test it or any of those. So, as much as we'll try to put dates and timelines to things, that is always going to be a factor. And ultimately, we designed that illustration based on feedback, right? Everybody in the community after the first version, or really when we used to see when roadmap demands, the general consensus was we don't need to see dates. We just want to see the progress and what you're working on. So that's what we aimed at.
Yeah, and to reemphasize, those are not time-based rings; those are percentage. So, certain parts of that, once you have your core components, which we detail those out a little bit more in the roadmap part of the portal, but once your core components, like your spot wallet, your staking wallet, all those things are built, a lot of those other systems can be developed simultaneously on top of that. But it's like a requirement to start doing bronze ticket purchases, OMI to gym, things like that. We have to have that spot trading wallet to be able to have the user's OMI in that one wallet so it can interact easily on the back end. So you'll see a lot of things changing, and we'll keep that updated.
Yeah, and it actually just jogged a thought there. I just want to say a big thank you to anyone who has submitted feedback through the OUP portal. If you haven't seen it yet, there are a number of feedback forms in there. If you have other ideas, we've already received some really great ones, so we'll start to put together a few briefs and add them to the OUP IP section as well, the OUP improvement proposal. So if you haven't submitted feedback, if you've got some ideas or questions, please submit those forms. It makes it, it's all well and good to do these back and forths with AMAs, but if we can see your questions directly or see your ideas, we can respond to you there as well.
That was actually one of the questions by Crypto Bull. Again, there is kind of long, but I know one of them was like, where can we submit feedback? So that definitely answered one of the questions from that. Sure. And just a little comment from somebody who's like pretty involved in the crypto space. Man, if OMI was listed on like Voyager, Celsius, or FTX, so many people would have got wrecked like within the past few months. So it's some things it's better off waiting than being too early.
That's why that buying OMI in the web app will be so much better, right? It's you're buying it in the place that you want to use it instead of having to buy, bridge, deposit, all of those things. And obviously the bulk of our user base is very non-crypto, right? They might be very NFT focused, but they're not that crypto literate. So trying to really simplify access to the token, I think will be crucial moving forward.
I completely agree. I don't see it right now on screen, but I did read a really good question. Okay, yeah, actually this one. Due to what we have seen with FTX, and I'm on this topic, are there any proof of reserve initiatives that we can expect from VV? What level of liquidity, obviously answer what you can. What level of liquidity can we expect from the Bank of New Zealand? If an NFT goes to 250K, how can users be assured that they will be able to get that money out?
If someone sells an NFT for 250K, it means someone else has bought $250,000 worth of gems. That's just how the system works. So no, I don't think we'll publish proof of reserves or proof of liquidity. We wouldn't have a payout feature if we weren't in a position to pay out. And ultimately, people are spending their money on collectibles and comics, which is our revenue, right? So it's just a feature that wouldn't be available if we weren't in a position to offer it. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that's super clear answer. Easy. Makes sense that if somebody's spending 250K, then that's where the 250K comes from.
Yeah, it's not coming out of the pocket if you're buying collectibles. Yeah.
Let's see if there's any more of these questions. I might try to pick out one of these Crypto Bull questions. Because again, they sent me a lot. And after that, if this is the chance for the chat, I thank you for being active. Obviously, I've been focused on the questions that were already pre-asked. Thank you guys for asking, engaging, some super chats in there. I really appreciate you guys. But put your questions in the chat right now, just before we conclude, so we can get a couple of extra questions. Let me open this. Some of these are a little bit hard to understand, so just give me just a second. Also, if there's anything you just want to throw out there, Rhys, that maybe after the Discord AMA, you're like, dang, I wish I would have said that, or I wish I could have thrown that out there, like, or cleared up this, like, feel free,
There's probably nothing in particular other than I would say that all of this information is actually in the portal. So I know there's a lot of content there. Turns out, I get a bit carried away when I write things, but it is there, and I have tried to explain as many of the rules, as much of the background and everything, so that you can kind of put this cohesive mental image together of the program. So if you are confused, please go through it. If you find information in there that is still confusing, fill out the feedback form. Please fill out the feedback form so I can go through that and try to simplify that information as well. When you're in crypto for a long time, you kind of forget which parts are natural to you and which parts are, nobody else would understand. So yeah, that's feedback I'm looking for personally as well.
And I have to brag on Rhys quite a bit there, because anytime I would submit a proposal to him, my entire career I write technical documentation, like super technical. So I send him something and it reads a lot like a master mechanic's guide for a 1992 Honda Civic. And then he turns it into the beautiful amount of words that you see in the portal. So it's kind of a hybrid between the two things.
Teamwork makes the dream work. That's all I'm saying.
That's right.
That's awesome. Yeah, you do a great job. It's super clear. This portal, I can't emphasize enough how great it is. And again, if you watch the video, but I mean, it literally has like the basics of what is OMI all the way to like the deflating OMI's token supply. So you kind of go from like basic to advanced. We do have a couple of questions that dropped. Sorry if I missed it. Will there be drops only available in OMI in the future? That actually wasn't asked, and that's a good question. Awesome work on the OUP, guys. Keep it up. See you next week.
Yeah, look, I like the U in there as well. At the moment, it would depend on the type of content. If it's licensor content, no, they want dollars. That's the easiest way to maintain those things. However, you will see in the on the roadmap page that we're keeping a list of other ideas that we've kicked about or the community mentions, as well as those OUP IPs. And one of those ideas would be to either use some of the collectibles we've held back and do a bit of an open OMI bid section, where people could bid with their OMI tokens, highest bidder wins, similar to how the Artworks auctions operate. So there's definitely potential there to add some, I guess you would call it store utility, but it would be collectibles that have already been released. But that could be a cool way to put some of those out into the ether as well. So we're definitely looking for more avenues there to make OMI more usable on those, but it's not so much that they're usable on primary drops. They would just be usable for store collectibles, if that makes sense. No,
it does for sure. You have any follow-up thoughts, Pudding Chiefs?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do there, and I think more of those ideas will kind of gel out as all these systems come into play. The primary thing that happens in the OUP is VV's not generating any extra revenue from the OUP systems, but as a trade-off for that, the fees are still paid to them in gems. So you could see OMI auctions for collectibles and then still have to pay for them in gems, just like the way the bronze tickets work. You can enter your bronze tickets to secure a drop, but you're still going to need to pay the gems retail to buy that drop.
Exactly right. Yeah. And look, like I said earlier, I think there's a lot more flexibility when we do get to the VVverse, because, if we're talking about land or other items that aren't branded, then there's a lot more opportunity to use the token to acquire those things. So yeah, I would say stay tuned, because we definitely have a lot more flexibility there.
Sweet. Thank you. Let me see what was asked next. I don't want to try to skip anybody. Somebody, I mean, this is fair, I guess. Not for trade said, well, we get a debit card to spend OMI everywhere. I know Coinbase has a card that like lets you spend crypto, but I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's not on our roadmap at the moment. But as you say, I mean, OMI is now publicly available and it's on Ethereum. So if any other existing payment services provider integrates the token, then yeah, theoretically you could do that. And if it's something that people want, then sure, we can pursue some of those avenues, in the near future. Yeah.
Sure. You can send me OMI for coffee, not for trade. I'll trade you on that one for sure.
Right.
I've done it before. All right, let's see. Somebody asked about the land purchase. Superstar Money said, question for Rhys, is that a Jermaine Rogers shirt? And question for Puddin, is that a Ted D shirt? I didn't notice that the entire time.
Yeah, this is the London Decon Jermaine shirt.
Yeah, that's amazing. Puddin, what about yours? Is yours a...
Mine's just a Fall Creek Falls State Park shirt that I grabbed out of the closet before I came in here.
Man, I didn't wear a cool shirt. I was thinking about Decon, like if I wanted to, like, what is this? Is it like, I'm assuming it's casual, but do people wear like their favorite artists?
It's casual.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing shoes, so you can wear whatever you want.
that is the running joke. I think somebody even commented on my thing because I wear sandals a lot because it's hot as can be where I live, and somebody even commented on my thing saying let the sandals meet in this interview. I thought that was kind of funny. That's what he was referencing. It was David Yu's hair, that meme account. I can't find it, but yeah, he said let the sandals meet, and I kind of got a cackle out of it.
Yeah, but for anyone who's coming to Decon who hasn't been there before, yeah, it's anything goes. You can wear whatever you want there. It's not cosplay. It's not like Comic-Cons, but it's very much. It's my favorite event, hands down.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, it's so much easier to be around everyone, and I mean you get to meet so many of the artists that are available on VV and meet. For me personally, Decon last year was my first con event, right? Especially post-COVID and all of those things. And that was the first time it all clicked, right? It was like walking around and seeing 10,000 David Hughes just running around and collecting everything. And, that's when I obviously knew what we were doing up until that point and digitizing collectibles, but until you really see it firsthand and you look around that event space and realize like, oh, okay, we have this in the app already. This is where it's come from. It's exciting. It's a really cool.
That's really cool
space to be part of. Yeah.
Is there? I mean, I'm assuming there's a bunch of physicals that that represent the collectibles in the app, like at Decon. Like, are they available for purchase, or is it more so they just kind of show you what they would have?
No, they are. They definitely are, and we will obviously, we've got a whole range of Decon focus drops as we do with each Decon, and the vast majority of those artists, if not all of them, will be there probably with their own booth. So I know last year a lot of people collected. The Vultura Macabra, and you could buy the physical there.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, Luke Chu's Ghost Bears, Tristan Eaton will be out there, all those kind of things, and I think a fair few of them will drop by the booth and probably join our after party as well. So, yeah,
heck yeah, looking forward to it. Let's see if there's any more questions on it. Let's see. I appreciate the vague timelines, but isn't there a need or urge to give utility? By the way, I clicked it before reading it. To give utility to the so-called utility token ASAP to avoid regulatory issue?
No. I mean, we're obviously working to get this into the app as quickly as possible, but no, there's no real issues there. I mean, we've set the intention as a utility token from the very beginning, and now we're up to the stage of putting it into the app.
Somebody wanted to know on a much lighter question. Can Rhys Epico NFT be Rhys riding a Donnie?
I would also like to answer to this question. Thank you, Tess. If you're out there, where's my NFT?
Barefoot Donnie
ride. Just on that, actually, I think Epico just released a new article. Their token's now available, completely up to you if you're using the game.
What a time to drop it.
Yeah, well, you can acquire Epico token packages using your OMI tokens. There's an allotment specifically for you, and I think that's available now. So anyone who wants to check that out, feel free.
Like, yeah. This looks like a good question from another YouTuber, essentially Crypto. What does Rhys think will burn more, OMI to NFT, or secondary market OMI burn, or OMI to gem?
OMI to NFT. I think I would say there. Yeah, the OMI to gem pool will continue to look for funding mechanisms as we move forward. But I think we're expecting it to be sold out or mostly sold out most of the time. That's obviously the core utility of why people bought OMI in the first place. I know I'll personally be buying gems with tokens as often as I can. So I think if everyone's taking that, Adam, any counters?
Yeah. So with all the systems being interconnected, where OMI to NFT is what's the support feature for the OMI to gem function. So that seller side fee on OMI to NFT, just that part. So if you're tier 1, 2.5% of every sale you make for OMI goes to that gem pool. So you're transitioning a pre-funded gem into that pool. So that's how we're able to let you voluntarily burn your OMI to receive that gem. And then there's no negative effect on Vivi, and that gem still has $1 representing it in the system. So having the crypto pay in, having the secondary fees on the OMI to NFT or OMI to accessory trading. And we're looking at various other ways to help pull gems into that fund to always try to keep gems in there so people can use their OMI, and you get a little discount for staking to buy those gems. like Rhys said, it's more than likely going to be sold out. So we're going to have to manage and monitor that and see if we need to regulate how many you can buy in a certain amount of time, different things to make it where one Dr. Profit can't just go buy the whole pool and then everybody else doesn't get to play, because he's a cool guy and he'd probably do something like that. But I want to get some too.
Exactly. You know, just as you were saying that, and to this question, logically, OMI to NFT and OMI to gem actually burn the exact same amount of gems, or sorry, the exact same amount of tokens, because it's the buyer and seller is even, right? So OMI to NFT will burn immediately on the buyer side and after the fact in the OMI to gem pool. But functionally, it will actually be the exact same amount of tokens in either system.
Earlier, Green Bean made a suggestion via Super Chat. He said, yearly tier 5, earn access to a gift shop for signed physical item by team burn badge that simply burns X amount of OMI. Great work, guys.
Signed physical plus a burn badge. Is it saying one or the other? Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, there's definitely options there, right? Especially as the VV brand grows. If we start to make our own merch or anything like that, there's probably redemption items there. Maybe burn reward points can be redeemed for those things. We've also kicked around the idea, and this is in the list on the development roadmap of exclusive AMAs, depending on your staking tier or access to things like that. Now, you're probably the perfect person to ask, Chris. Is that something that you think would be useful? Do you think people would enjoy that as a perk?
That's a tough question. So like an exclusive AMA, if you're an X tier for like access to basically you and ask questions, or like access to
more or less, or access to the team, maybe you get, if you're tier 5, you get a quarterly AMA with David and Dan or something.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome perk. I'm obviously, as a content creator, my first thought is always, how are a lot of people going to respond to this? So like my first response is like, I feel like people would obviously be upset if there was like, not that you want to do this, but if there's private information in those, that they trade off of. So it would just to be real careful for that. That would be the gray area in that, for off the top of my head. But like as far as just access to the team, being able to talk or do an AMA or something like that, yeah, I think that'd be super valuable.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I did see someone else suggest that maybe you could even have the highest staker at each tier gets has dinner with the team or something like that. Their chance to do things. So there's a lot of perks that we can build in external to VV as well. Right? It doesn't have to be limited to the platform. So if people are submitting feedback or have that kind of if they're thinking down that line, feel free to send it in to us. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think definitely some people will treasure that. Yeah, that's a cool idea. Superstar Money trying to get some more content. He said, is economy reaching out to larger brands or companies that have OMI implemented in their ecosystems, or just waiting for them to come?
Maybe. Yeah, we are. Look, I mean, the beauty of building in a bear market is that all the trash falls away, right? And all the gems rise from the dust. So it makes it a lot easier to contact teams and to try and find ways to tie in there. But of course, any suggestions, any feedback, anyone who has connections to another team, if they're looking for a token, contact us. We've also developed a few other tokenomic mechanics that can be exported to bring OMI into more games and into more people as well. So yeah, just get in touch.
I can just see the thumbnail now of Puddin' Cheeks and your face reaction to that question with Disney launches OMI as primary token.
Hold on, I'll give one for Dan.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I love it. Shout out to Superstar Money, great content creator. Sweet. Let's see what else we got in the chat. So here's a good staking tier for you. So get to the Rhys card. Do we greet you without shoes?
Yes. Yeah. I don't high five with hands, just so people know. So it's be prepared.
Somebody asked earlier, I'm kind of backtracking to the question, and I am going to get to you, Crypto Tony. I just saw yours. They were talking about, I know originally like MCP was going to have their point system, and then obviously OUP has theirs, and both can like work towards accessories. Are those like the same, or like what differentiates those two?
Yeah, look, it's probably a bit too early to say if they'll operate exactly the same way. But the thinking is more or less the same, right? If you've got a lot of collectibles, you're accruing MCP points and redeem those. I think we'll have splits between you can only redeem this with points, or you can only redeem it with OMI or bronze tickets, things like that, just to make sure that both sides of the house are enjoying the experience more than anything. So that's kind of the early logic, but we won't. It'll take a bit of time before we actually get to that point in development to make that decision.
Tony did a super chat. Wants to ask you if you're part of other NFT projects like Recur, McFarlane, or Quid.
I'm not, and it's not necessarily because I don't rate those projects. I don't have the time to be as involved in those projects, right? And
I get it.
Yeah, my full focus is here at all hours. Yeah.
I hold some projects that I love, and I like can't keep up with them anymore because like I'm just so busy, and like I really liked a lot about it, but I'm just busy.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I can only imagine being in your shoes.
Yeah. No, the only other NFTs I really hold are things people have sent me over the years. We've got the VVPM jackets and all those kind of cool things that are honestly more meaningful to me than buying someone else's art or something like that anyway. So
do you hold Brock's fishes, or are you allowed? I don't know if you're allowed to say that.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah, I was
so cool.
Earlier purchases of the fish. Yeah,
he works so hard on that project, so shout out to Brock for the fishes. Same person as earlier. Since renting is unlocked at tier 1, what kind of utility is planned could be done for already existing collectibles?
So I feel like that's two separate questions, basically.
Yeah,
but that is in the staking rewards quick reference that we've opened renting to all staking tiers. As to the utility, that's a later conversation. That's not a today thing.
Sure. I'm just scrolling through the comments.
And look, we can probably expand on that. Just a little bit. Obviously, we see a lot of questions about renting collectibles, and it's not viable on other platforms because they don't have the demand or the user base that we can really celebrate. So, I think over time, as these collectibles become more and more scarce, right? And you already see it with season 1, season 2 collectibles. There's rarely, a lot of listings. That's where renting will come in, and that's whether those collectibles open access to an experience or a game of some sort. I don't know. Maybe there's a day where people are so engrossed in the metaverse that we're filming digital film clips and music videos and things like that, and you want the DeLorean in there or something, right? So you'd rent it from someone for the day or that kind of thing instead of renting your sports cars and all of that. So I don't know. That idea I think will continue to expand, but it has to come from a point of demand, right? There's not much point just saying, hey, you can rent collectibles from each other, but there's no purpose to doing it. So yeah,
I've always thought, and I don't mean to go too much speculation on like the renting, but like obviously like for non-licensed collectibles, like if I could rent somebody's VV exclusive collectible that's going to give me a discount or something free at one of your events, like that would make sense because like if I pay less to rent it than it would cost me to get into the event.
Yep.
Why would I not do that?
Yeah.
It's almost similar to I bought the I think we talked about this before. I bought the Decon mascot for a chance to win one of the 200 VV or one of the 200 Decon tickets. And so it actually cost me less to buy that mascot than obviously it would have been, for the weekend. So it just made sense. So yeah. I don't know. The most obvious thing to me when it comes to renting is like, at least at first, like stuff like that, does that make sense?
Right. Exactly right. And even like redemptions, right? If you're redeeming merch or something like that, if you can make it to an event and your friend can't, then, maybe you'd borrow their logo or borrow whatever item it is, so that someone can enjoy that redemption.
Sure.
And whoever can't make the event would make a little bit of income from renting it as well. So it's all, there'll be more strategy there, right? Everything VV ends up with lists of strategies and ways to make the most of it. So
absolutely. Somebody was asking, we had like both ends of the question asked like almost at the same time. Basically somebody asked if there's going to be any larger staking tiers, like 100K. And somebody else asked if there will, I'm going to just rephrase this as any lower staking tiers.
Yeah. Look, we definitely discussed them. The staking tier rates are based on community feedback, right? And from that first version, I think we had 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 or something like that. But you had to be staking to use OMI in the app. So now anyone can use OMI in the app, but you have to be staking a higher value to receive those premium benefits, right? Higher staking tiers, we definitely discussed them. But the higher you go, or the more money you're asking people to lock up, the bigger the incentive and the bigger the reward has to be to get there. So if you go up to 100K, you have to be offering something pretty damn good to ask someone to secure that amount of money for 12 months or whatever it is. And it's really hard to do that without it becoming really top heavy, right? Where it's basically he with the most money wins, or she.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's kind of the logic there. I mean, for even tier 5, like $40,000, it's not chump change, right? It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
To kind of get to that tier. So that's the logic there. Maybe in the future, as our product lines develop, maybe there is enough incentive that we can build in rewards that make sense to be at higher staking tiers. But for now, I think it's pretty reasonable. And then the same logic works to the downside, right? I understand a lot of people can't get to that first tier, but everybody can still use their OMI tokens, which is the point of them in the first place. Staking is just an addition to the original plan. So that's kind of how we structured those basically. And same deal, right? If we had a $500 tier, it's okay, but what are we giving you to lock up there? Is it actually worth it? Is it, or would it just be something gimmicky because you want to stake at a lower tier? So we want to make sure that the items we're giving out have that perceived value anyway, and reward you for voluntarily locking up your tokens.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, at the end of the day, what yield are you getting for locking away 6 figures, and then it's hard on your part because it's like you don't want it to be top heavy to where the whales can just, do everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And there's always we really have to balance the OUP with the MCP as well, right? And make sure that we're keeping both sides of the house happy. Now, obviously, we're trying to create enough mechanisms and incentive for non-crypto to jump the gap, right? And to start staking and receive those ticket rewards or collectibles or whatever it is. But yeah, it's as we've said a few times, it's always going to take balance and maintaining. If we do get to a point where everybody in the app can stake at tier 5, okay, maybe we need to up the tiers a little bit, right? And look at it that way. But that'll be part of the progression of the rollout.
Heck yeah, for sure. There's a good question earlier, and also I don't know why this just popped in my head, but like a higher tier, like maybe like the top staker, one of the top stakers, like pay for their decon trip. I don't know, that's like too much or like against anything, but like that would be awesome incentive, like include the dinner and all that, like a fully paid trip to hang out with the team.
The top staker, right? We can randomly reward someone.
True,
you, right? There's always retroactive things we can do once we see you staking, and issue those kind of things. So yeah, there's plenty of those mechanisms that we can integrate as well.
Sure. I try not to like throw too. I know you want feedback, but like I've owned a coffee shop for like 7 years, and I always have the most random stuff thrown at me. That's either just dumb or it's like, or yeah, of course I've thought about that 100 times. So on a much smaller scale, I kind of get what it's like. It's like you spend hours, days, years of your life trying to figure something out, and then somebody comes off the street and is like, "Hey, you should do this," without any of the background of it.
Yeah.
But sometimes those people may have something that you just completely missed the whole time.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it's easy, even when we're doing these things, to kind of hyper focus on task at hand for each area. So, like Rhys was saying earlier, there's been some excellent feedback sent, ideas of tools that could be built into the system. So we're always looking at that stuff. And if you look back at Vivi even a year ago, or a little bit further than that, a lot of the systems that are designed in this OUP really wouldn't have made any sense back then. Like the way all of this ties together, like before drops were selling out or things like that. Nobody would have thought of anything about tickets or competitions to try to get into these drops. So the same thing moving forward will be, the next chapter will be written, and then what can we put on top of it to make it better then?
Yeah, exactly right. And obviously this whole system is predicated on Vivi being successful, right? As it always has been. But we're in a really unique position that we do have the biggest brands in the world and the biggest IP. There is demand for it. Most of them are making their first appearance ever on the blockchain or in this format with us. And that's how we can design a system like this, right? If there wasn't demand or competition for drops, none of these things would be relevant. So that's on our side, and they'll become more relevant as we really start to step up the user acquisition for the VV user base.
Another thing to throw out there, like obviously, like I don't know the books and it's not mine to know, but a lot of projects, I'm like almost full-time Web3. A lot of projects raised their money in ETH and kept it in ETH instead of moving it to stables. So they got wrecked because they raised all this money in ETH when ETH was at 4K or 3K, and now it's at 12K or 1.2K. Whereas like obviously the way that it is right now, a lot of the funds are raised by VV were in stables. So like that's pretty good position to be in. I feel like from a business standpoint, opposed to raising it up here and now it's you lost all that. Just from a perspective of somebody who's pretty active in the rest of the space.
Don't get me wrong, and Adam was actually around when this was taking place, but we learned that lesson in 2018. It was our first raise didn't succeed because of the market conditions, very similar to how they are now, which has really set us up to play a much more defensive and offensive game because you can see these cycles coming and going. That for us is a big thing. And to your point, Chris, it's these projects have raised in ETH, they've seen the price go down, now they have to pay their bills and they become forced sellers of that token as well. Now, luckily, ETH is a much bigger market cap than it was 4 years ago, but after the ICO bubble popped, that's exactly what happened. All these projects raised in ETH, and then they all had to sell so they could keep the lights on. Maybe 5% of them survived, and the rest just tanked the price. So it's also why we wouldn't, you don't raise in OMI tokens and things like that, right?
Then depending on where they sold, they also owe the taxes on the original fundraising. So if they made 1 million in ETH on fundraising, they owe taxes on that 1 million, not on whatever ETH is right now. So depending on where they live.
Exactly.
This is a very very wholesome comment. Fun under the sun. Chris, thank you so much for introducing me to VV March 2021. Rhys, we all love you. So shout out to Fun under the Sun just for that very wholesome comment. Curtis followed up the 100K thing, which, by the way, respect of your time, Rhys said 90 minutes. We're coming up. We have 9 minutes left, and I'm going to do a pretty hard cut then. So if you have anything left to say, get it in the next 9 minutes. Very much appreciate Rhys and Putting Cheeks both for coming on the channel, answering all the questions, answering hard questions, tough questions, analytical questions, technical questions. Like, shout out to them for taking the time out of their day to do this.
And can I just say thank you for your patience, Chris? You and I agreed to do this AMA after version 1 came out, and I said, just let us tidy it up, release version 2, then we'll do it. It's now been 11 months since version 1. So massive thank you to you, and obviously the fan for
I'm very patient. If you want to come back next year at this time, that's perfectly fine. I'll wait until November 10th at 3 p.m. Central Time of next year, and we can do our next interview.
Yeah, that's great. And I can see Curtis's comment there. Hey, it's not a bad idea, right? If the perk is more you lock up tokens, we burn tokens. Yeah, maybe there's an option there. Whether that's strong enough for you to lock up your tokens for 12 months, it would depend, but there's always an option there.
Mark, I don't know. Mark used to make a ton of content for VV, and then he just said, "I'm done." I'm just kidding. I'd still talk to Mark a lot, but he did used to make a lot of content for VV. He just hasn't made content in a while. If each season is 3 months for season 1 at the start of staking, what tier would we need to fast track to minimally to get to tier 5 by the end of season 1?
Tier 4, I think we said. Is that right?
Yeah. So the tiers, the days double on each tier. So you've got no waiting period to become tier 1. Then it's 15 days to become tier 2, 30 days to become tier 3. That just means the moment that you become a tier 2 staker, a 30-day timer starts. The next timer doesn't start until you become tier 3. So it doesn't just run in perpetuity. It's from the moment you achieve a tier. So it takes 225 days to do it without any fast tracking. So looking at it at each level, there's an individual fast tracking cost. So it's all cumulative. So your 15 days and your fast tracking fee for whichever tier, like say to go to tier 2 instantly, is, I think it's, I'm not looking at it right now, but it's $500 in 15 days. So if you want to forego those 15 days, you can spend that $500 worth of OMI, which is also fixed at the season price for that fast tracking. So that's another thing to watch out for, is if the OMI's market's fluctuating over that 3 month period, your fast tracking could cost a lot more or a lot less. Or you've already earned your burn reward points, you spend those. I know I'm going the long way around this question, but I've seen a lot of the same discussion. and it's cumulative. So you become tier 4, your timer starts for tier 5.
Yeah,
it will be hard to get there in the first 3 months without jumping at least 2 tiers.
Yeah, I think, isn't it even you can't get to tier 5 in the first season without fast track.
The first 2 seasons.
The first 2 seasons. There you go.
Yeah.
So theoretically, the collectible rewards in those first seasons will be more scarce than they are later in the year, because you can obviously let those timers run and make it to tier 5 by the end of the year without fast tracking. But if you want to do it in those first couple of seasons, you would have to fast track. And I'm sure people have figured this out or will figure it out. But I think if you fast track to tier 4 in the first 30 days, you can make it into that season, the tier 5 snapshot by the end of that first season, something like that. But it has to be early. And again, that's another incentive to be staking early and taking advantage of those systems.
We have 5 minutes left. We're going to try to speed run through some of these. There's some really good ones too. Besnick did DM me, and although this isn't OUP or OMI related, Besnick is very active, and I just wanted to address the question. It's a wholesome question. Basically, Besnick is from North Macedonia and has already KYC'd and is fine and happy. But for some reason, VV is not available to download anymore in North Macedonia for the friends. Do you know anything about that, or is it a Google Play thing? Or
it could be an App Store thing, but the web app should be available for everybody. So restrictions like that, obviously it's not as convenient as a thing in your pocket, but you should be able to access the web app. So
web app, okay.
Is that.
Again, I know it wasn't OMI related. I just
no, it's good to cover questions that come in anyway. Yeah.
For sure. I saw 2 very good questions. And again, I know we're trying to wrap up soon. For some reason
we can go a minute over.
Okay. I for some reason lost the first one. So here it is. Will we get a clear calendar when the season starts and tier end start? Okay.
Yeah.
That's super easy.
Jedi. See you, mate. There is a staking schedule example on the staking page, and that sort of just details when the season would start, when the snapshot would take place, the grace period, that kind of thing. But yeah, absolutely, we want this to be as understandable and transparent as possible, so that everybody knows what they're doing and getting into.
This is actually This is a great question that I completely forgot about. Somebody was asking me a while back. I thought there was a subscription service talk. Are you thinking about adding mechanics burns through subscriptions? Sorry, this is asked. It was not asked already. I completely forgot about this. So yeah, if you want to address that.
Yeah. That's the what do we call it? The MCP Pro. That's
MCP related. That's right.
MCP Pro. Yeah. So that's MCP related. Maybe there's some room to also do it with OMI, but at the moment we're going to leave that on the MCP side. So there's some features that would kind of just be MCP, and some features like the tickets that are just OUP, and that helps to address what people are interested in, but also give you other ways to play the game of VV, basically.
We asked this earlier. This is VV Viral. OMI purchase on VV or big exchanges first. You're going to have to go back and watch. You'll never guess what Rhys said. But yeah, we did address that earlier.
Yeah.
Could do a few more and our few minutes left. Shout out just to some of the community. Daniel's always super active. Of course, OBL. I know you're very familiar with her. So somebody just saying this was a very useful podcast. I'm bullish on the project. You guys are doing a great job. VV for life. Got Mark saying, Curtis, thank you for all your input. Not for trade, thank you for all your input. All of you. We definitely thank you. If staking T1 after 1 year, gold ticket for land. I guess that's just a straight up question on land.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So what we really want to do is obviously incentivize staking for 12 months. So the way that it's set up at the moment, in the first season of staking year 2, you will receive annual staking rewards and your season 4 seasonal rewards. Now that annual reward means anyone who stakes for the full 12 months will receive a golden ticket plus silver and bronze and whatever else we have in there, which means that anyone who stakes for a full year, regardless of the tier, will have a golden ticket that they can then redeem for some land in the VVverse. Yeah.
Sweet. We have 1 minute left. I will just give you guys both, if you want to share something with us that you just want to say to the community before we see you next week, say a goodbye, whatever it is. Again, I can't stress enough, Rhys, Pudding Cheeks, thank you guys so much for coming on, answering all these questions, being on the channel. Chat, thank you for being there the whole time. Thank you for asking the questions at the end. Thank you for DMing me and messaging before, just so we could have plenty of questions to ask these two. I really appreciate you guys. Of course, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Like this video for the YouTube algorithms. Rhys, put in cheeks, it's to you.
Yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel. Mad not to. No, look, from my end, I just want to say thanks, Chris. Thanks for having us on. You know, you guys really help us to disseminate this information in a way that is easy to understand. So massive thank you to yourself and anybody else who does create content. Of course, if you haven't seen the portal, please go and visit it. Take the time to go through each section and submit your feedback, right? Same goes if you're a content creator and I haven't included you in there, I'll go through and update those as often as I can. So please submit your details and whatever you would like to see on your little profile box there as well. But otherwise, I'd just like to extend a huge thank you to everybody for your patience to get to this point and for your feedback to help us refine things from this point. Good?
Yeah, so when we got ready to launch the portal, it was a little bit nerve-wracking. I don't know if either one of us slept very much that night. And it's like, have we put out way too much information? And I think all the feedback we have seen has been phenomenal and overwhelming. Like just seeing people that are appreciative of the work. And it wasn't just myself and Rhys. There's a lot of other parties involved in this, giving feedback, double checking a lot of the things that are in it. So it's not just either one of us or both of us. There's a whole team of people. But I do want to say, this whole entire community and the information that you provide to the team. And I was just thinking yesterday about Decon. Like, this will be my first event. I'm excited to go meet everybody.
Mine too.
In the middle of this horrifically bloody bear market, the VV fam is going to show up in record numbers at an in-person event. And I don't know how many other communities can actually just like applaud themselves for that togetherness that has been created across our entire community. And I just feel honored to be a part of it. Just overall, that's really all I can say.
No, that's a great sentiment. Yeah, I completely agree with you there. It's super exciting times to be around here, right? Regardless of market conditions, I feel like VV is always exciting. There's always something happening, something going on, and these events really just cement how special this experience is, right? And I think everybody comes away from them really understanding, like, okay, we have VV and OMI and all this shared experience, but the true value of this experience is the fact that we all get to be friends with each other and shape this industry and shape this product together. So it's yeah, from the bottom of our hearts, massive thank you to everybody and to you, Puddin'. Like we wouldn't have had this done without your input and without your help. So I really appreciate it and look forward to delivering the next one together.
Sweet. Thank you guys so much again. Anybody watching this is going to be at Decon. I'm also going to be doing in-person interviews of everyone, not just the team, not just people I know. So just come up to me and be like, yo, I want to be in. And I'll put you on the spot. Thanks again, guys, so much for coming. I appreciate y'all. And thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys next time. And if you're going to be at Anaheim, we'll see you next week. Peace out, everybody. Much love.
Thanks, everybody.